we talked a little bit about Hogan and his movie career, and that kind of can segue into the next story with a brand new combat sports company that they were Eric Bischoff and Hogan were basically teasing, and they talked about a third man. And Hogan and Eric Bischoff did an NWO style video, basically announcing Izzy Martinez as their third man, and they announced the launch of Real American Freestyle Wrestling. So Martinez is a longtime freestyle wrestling coach. He's coached multiple NCAA All-Americans and UFC fighters like John Jones, Holly Holm, and Yair Rodriguez. And Hogan wants American Freestyle Wrestling to be big. The launch of the promotion has been a big talking point recently, especially with the involvement of Hogan and Eric Bischoff. Wrestling community has been talking crap for the past couple of weeks. The first big event that they're holding is August 30th. I believe it's in Cleveland, Ohio. And I think fans are going to be interested to see how it plays out for American Freestyle Wrestling. While speaking with Fox and Friends for a new interview, Hogan said that the goal for the promotion is to be as big or bigger than WWE or UFC. This is what Hogan said. Yes, it is. It's freestyle wrestling, and it's professional now because we get to pay the athletes. Izzy is our linchpin. He has trained all of the Olympic athletes, all the NCAA champions, all the college kids that really have made it. He was our source to pull in all these great athletes and get everybody signed. Our goal is not to be competitive with Dana White and the UFC or WWE, but to just be as big or bigger because this is an underserved market. So when
Izzy
I heard
Martinez is from here.
Sorry, from Chicago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like when I heard this story, when I first saw the clip, I thought it was like some kind of weird podcast announcement. When I just saw like Hogan and Eric Bischoff, I thought maybe they were going to be pushing some new boner pill or beer or something.
Yeah, same.
Real,
The
real American
IPA
boner.
of real American beer, brother.
Some real American beer and some real American
Real American boners.
bean pills.
So when I
Man.
first saw like that video, when I was like scrolling, I was like, "What the hell is this?" Or like, this must be some kind of like weird, like infomercial for like a mattress or some kind of new like massage chair or something that they signed up for.
I don't need no pill.
And yeah, then I was like reading more into this. I'm like, wait, you're not selling car insurance. You're you're doing you're doing a whole new promotion, and it was like a not and I thought it was going to be like pro wrestling, and I thought it was pro wrestling related, but it's amateur pro wrestling. So it's guys in singlets, like what you see in high school and in the Olympics, basically doing like quote unquote real wrestling.
Greco-Roman.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And it's not like we've never seen this happen before. Vince McMahon went out of his comfort zone and did the XFL, delved into
I was
football.
just watching that documentary today.
Nice.
Which documentary?
The XFL one. There was a 30 for 30 on it.
Is it recent?
I want to say it's came out in the last 2-3 years because Vince looked pretty old.
Did he have the mustache?
I was gonna say.
Well, yeah, because I think he shaved it off recently. But honestly, I didn't see that documentary, but I would be curious to see. Does it have a lot of Vince in it? I'm assuming, since it's kind of his baby.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of Vince in it. Like he makes a lot of he makes a lot of good takes. Just like the weird stuff that happened in that XFL. Like one day they had a media blackout because somebody forgot to put fuel in the generators.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, if I would have had my guys from the WWE here as my camera crew, that wouldn't have happened. And it's like, oh, yeah, you might have a point, Vinnie Mac.
So when you guys read the story, and maybe, as you were listening to me talk to, read his little quote, what's your first reaction to Hogan starting also with Eric Bischoff, I guess, starting a new combat sports company, and it's amateur wrestling?
I hope they find a way to make money for a long time because, like, those guys are fucking dogs, dude. Like, some of our favorite wrestlers are like have an amateur background,
Yeah.
and like,
Lesnar,
yeah,
right?
Lesnar, Angle, Gable, like even like Ziggler, Cody Rhodes was an amateur wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, I feel
Thousand
like,
people I'm not thinking of.
I think what I'm worried about, and maybe not worried about, but I guess there is bound to be some level of pro wrestling related, you know,
Pizzazz.
pizzazz, yeah, whatever you want to call it, added into it. And which isn't a bad thing, because I feel like regular mainstream sports have been using for a while, like the recap videos, and like these vignettes that I feel like WWE has been doing for a while, and I feel like it was adopted by other sports with these vignettes and promos. So I feel like that's nothing new, and I'm sure that'll be included in this new version. But I wonder if they're gonna, like the XFL had some interesting ways of separating themselves from the NFL, making it more theatrical in a way, like maybe they'll be cutting promos on each other before they
Nicknames.
go in the middle of the ring, nicknames, coming out to, fireworks, and having a Titantron and all that kind of stuff. I think that could be interesting, especially because you're basically combining the theatrics and then basically doing quote unquote real combat sports, and marrying that together. But I don't know if Eric Bischoff or Hulk Hogan can stick the landing based on their track record. So do you feel like his claim that they're not a competitor, but they still want to be as big or bigger, do you feel like that's realistic, or do you think he's just talking a lot of hot air?
You're talking about
it's
Hogan, right?
So.
It is Hogan. I did say Hogan and hot air in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he can aim for that, but I don't know. Like, and to be honest, I saw like the pictures of him and Bischoff together. I just kind of like never minded, because that's kind of what I do a lot now with Hogan.
Cringe.
But I'm just like, okay, whatever that is. And then now that you said what it actually is, that's my first time actually like hearing about it. So I'm like, oh man, my first initial thought was why, but I mean, why not either? I guess, him and Bischoff have, a long friendship and stuff. So, I mean, I'd be curious now that I know what it is. And so, I mean, like, now that I know, I'm like, okay, look into it a little bit to see. I'm not a big fan of the name, but
I just hope they find like a way to make sure that all those guys that they end up bringing on for the ride, like, have a sustainable life afterwards.
which is good.
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
I know some amateur, like, I have friends and like just know people that like wrestled in high school and middle school and all that, and like traveled when they were 8 years old, 9 years old, and like even now, like in the gym, they're absolute dog. And
Yeah.
like if there's a place for them other than like what they're doing for clocking in and out, like I hope that works out, because like they deserve it. Like even like I grew up with a lot of amateur, well, obviously freestyle wrestlers are amateur wrestlers, and like they work so hard. If you know them, they work hard. As like I played basketball and ran track, and I can tell you I did not work as hard as them.
That's
Yeah,
tough.
and
Yeah.
yeah, Chris, you had thoughts?
I just hope to get compensated well. I imagine that they're probably going to have lengthy contracts potentially, or however they're going to kind of decide to do that. I'm curious what what does current like amateur wrestling look like on like ESPN, or like how many people are actually watching it? You know, what's the interest of it overall?
I mean, that's a good point. I feel like we'll see, because this is going to be supposedly a big endeavor, and they say it's an underserved market. I think what I'm going to be curious to see is how, because professional wrestling has the word professional in it, there has been a bit of like a stank on pro wrestling because it's called pro wrestling when it's staged, and amateur wrestling when it's legitimate, like real results, and the guys
Wins
are
and
working.
losses matter.
Yeah, so like having like pro wrestling carnies basically creating like an amateur wrestling company. Do you feel like the community who watches amateur wrestling, do you think that'll be a backlash because they're doing it? Do you feel like they'll look past that and just be happy that this is getting more of a mainstream appeal, or attempt to anyway?
I think Izzy's the stamp that they need.
I mean, there's definitely. I mean, the idea I imagine when they were probably talking about this idea is that they have name recognition, and it's obviously going to draw a lot of eyeballs to it, at least in the initial, first episode, or however they're going to kind of do this. What was the network they were going to be on, or how is this going to be aired, or is there any information on that?
I don't know if it's
not in there.
televised. Because there's a first event being held on August 30th. I don't know if they actually have like a.
That's kind of the point of Bischoff.
Yeah, for the TV deals.
Either TV, streaming. I'm sure they'll find something.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll probably be streamed. I don't know if it's going to be on like a Fox or something like that.
Probably like a Thriller or IW. Well, not IWTV, but Thriller, which is just IWTV with other shit.
Yeah.
You said it's August 30th is when they're going to have it, you said?
I think it's August 30th in Cleveland, Ohio. They're doing their first event. So I'm assuming it might be streamed, but I don't know if it'll be on like, TV or cable or anything like that.
Wonder if
that's a Saturday.
Travel.
What was that?
Wonder if they're going to travel, or it's just like they're just going to be there.
I'm assuming it's going to be like UFC type events, or even boxing. I don't know how frequent this is going to be. I don't think it's going to be like, a weekly show where they're cutting promos on each other.
It's going to be like, I don't want to say like small time, but like the subsidiaries of UFC, like the stuff Punk does and that does commentary for. I feel like it's going to be like that crowd size.
Okay.
Hopefully they're not on OnlyFans like them, but I mean, if they are, like, whatever. There's also cooking instructional videos other than Joy videos.
That's true. But yeah, I wish them the best of luck. I think it'll be interesting once the actual event happens, and then the build-up leading into it. What else are they offering? What is it going to look like? And if they can engage younger fans and build a loyal audience from the start, because I'm sure there's a whole generation, they don't know the baggage of like Hogan and Bischoff, and maybe they'll see this new promotion and just be like, hey, like we see this in our high schools and colleges, and it doesn't get the recognition it deserves, and now there's an opportunity to see this. Best of luck, I'll say.
Like,
yeah,
like even like, dude, like I know dudes that wrestled that like fucking like guys that went further in like basketball or football, like they can't even like hang in the gym, dude. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, there's because like in like wrestling, you need like strength to like overturn. Like the closest ball sport would have to be football to like some kind of like I have to overpower somebody because you don't have to
Yeah.
do that necessarily in like basketball. You just have to be quick on your feet and have agility. But like to physically you know overpower somebody, it's just
Strength
different skill set.
conditioning is different
Conditioning.
than strength.
Shit, I did.
And
Freshman year or maybe it was sophomore year. I tried doing wrestling for like two sessions. It was tough. I
Like
was
Garen?
Yeah, I was winded as fuck. Those drills were kicking my ass. I mean, I wasn't a athletic kid, but it definitely humbled my ass.
That's true.
I went to wrestling once and was like, yeah, I better show up basketball tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do
Respect.
Do you
Honestly,
guys
respect.
want to see before we go move on to trading cards? Do you guys want to see anything pro wrestling? Anything borrowed from pro wrestling in this promotion?
Let
or
those
show?
guys talk. Let those guys talk. That's it. Like UFC does a really good job of like uh either like the Lesnar promos in like 2016ish where
Just
he
to sit
sits
down
down and just like,
interview.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm an ass kicker.
Yeah.
Like let those guys talk because they'll find a way after that. I like one thing that I don't like about amateur wrestling is that it's like it's a guy in headgear, right? Like how are you supposed to recognize his face? How are you supposed to do like this and that?
Mm.
And especially like in a world of NILs and like this being grab at like the professional side of it. It's like let those guys talk, let those guys have a personality, let those guys find other ways to to expand themselves because
Yeah, I
they
feel like
work harder than a lot of people.
what it needs to, if you want to attract people, I feel like it does need, you got to peacock a little bit. You got to have some of that pomp and circumstance and like the fireworks and like the hype, the music, having them talk, maybe not necessarily just
Yeah.
having them go in a ring and start cutting promos on each other.
Right.
I mean, maybe, but like at least have like you said, the interviews, have them talk about their journey.
Yeah, put them in a space to tell their story.
Yeah.
Right,
Like
exactly.
I think if they could put themselves in a space to tell their story properly, they don't need to go to WWE or UFC, but like what they can do is go out and like make public appearances. Talk to high schools. Like uh, us being from the Midwest, like wrestling is huge in the Midwest, and like I don't know if you get like it was like heavy in you guys like for you guys growing up, but like amateur wrestling was a big deal in the schools I went to growing up, and like it goes back to just like I know people that are freaking dogs, dude, and like I wish that there was something for them when we were growing up where they could give themselves a platform to show like that they are dogs, like.
Yeah, I feel like I mean, for at least in the high schools that we've been to, I feel like football always was kind of taking the spotlight from other
Yeah.
sports teams. I feel like it always tends to go in that direction. But yeah, I feel like amateur wrestling in general was always the least sexy thing.
Like even the best like defensive football players that like I grew up with all wrestled before they decided to like completely stick to football. Like they all wrestled. Like they all owe a lot of their stuff to wrestling and yeah, like I don't know, like to me amateur wrestling should be as big as in general amateur wrestling should be I don't want to say as big as like football and basketball, but like it should be looked at in the same place as like what gets you in
UFC.
that. Yeah, like it's an entryway to MMA. Like Brock Lesnar was a collegiate wrestler. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was a like Kurt like all those.
And maybe they could then
Matt
go
Riddle.
into WWE if they want, like maybe that could be just another, ground where you get like some pretty good talent who just want to then do something different, and
Right.
be a Kurt Angle in
Mark Henry,
pro wrestling.
yeah.
They can
Or Mark
they can
Henry with
also
lifting.
they can lean on the fact that it is, I'm pretty sure, is the oldest sport as far as just like, but there's probably been
That was
variations
an
of-
Olympic version 1, bro.
exactly, like legitimately like Greco-Roman style.
Yeah.
That's why they call it that, because back in the days of like Plato and shit, like they were doing, I think Plato was a wrestler too, and they were wrestling. So I mean, it's a very ancient sport that they could probably do some dramatization of that kind of shit for that fact. So nothing
Just
older
don't
than
make it like Ico Pro.
overpowering a motherfucker, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way. Well, there's no segue to go into the next one, but you know what? Yes.